Hello and welcome back to Read and Reread. My name is Angelia and today I'm going to present my July TBR. I've started this video like 3 times because I'm having one of those tongue-tie days where every time I speak it just so at this point I think I'm just going to carry on. So if it's ridiculous, that's just a capsule of how it is today. So I know we're about a week into July. I've been running kind of behind because we were out of town and then some other complications of life ensued, but I have been sort of organizing this list. And some of these are a little more for sure than others. As always, it's kind of more of what I feel like I want to read this month and highly subject to changes along the way, especially after you get past the first few ones that I'm reading for some kind of particular reason. So first of all, I will mention the one I already finished, because you know, like you do a to-do list and then you put a couple things you already did and you cross them off and you feel a little moment of success. So the first book that I actually finished in July was The Long Call by Cleeves. I showed this book previously in a haul, and it was the one where I came upon book number 2 in a thrift store, so I found also a thrifted online copy of book number 1. And this is a new detective series that Cleeves is writing, who wrote the Shetland and Vera series. So the Jimmy Perez and then Vera, whatever her name is. And this is Matthew Venn. So this new detective is introduced in this book, and he comes from this little town. It's another one of those little coastal British towns, and he left his family and the town because he grew up in a very almost cult-like evangelical group called the Brethren that were very traditional, very strict, very patriarchal, and it didn't go down very well when he challenged their beliefs and also was gay. So he left, and he has actually recently moved pretty close back in, and he is a police detective. His husband runs a center in town that becomes sort of the focus of the crime investigation in this book, because it's a center that houses several different programs, an outreach program to homeless people and addicts, a day program for developmentally challenged adults that have aged out of the school system, and an art program that has like lessons and classes and art therapy. So there's several different community offerings in this one complex. And in the beginning of the story, there is a body on the beach, and it turns out to be this man who was a volunteer in that place who had been helped when he showed up drunk and homeless, and he's like getting his life together. So as they investigate, they find out that he is, there's a lot more going on, of course, with him and other people in the group. It was pretty good. I call it what I call hotel reads, which are books that are good for when you want something engaging that's not like super taxing or challenging. So it's just sort of a straight up mystery. It's pretty good. I will read book number 2. I wouldn't call it like a must read that you have to run out and buy right now, but it is a pretty diverting murder mystery. Alright, so that one I already finished. Now the rest of these are my to be read plans. And I have a couple of books. I'm going to participate a little bit in Jane Austen July. And I did wear my Jane Austen shirt that has all the novels on it. I love Jane Austen, but not to the extent that I'm going to read only Jane Austen and read those 7 or 8 types of books in the challenge. But I am going to reread one of the 6 main novels, because I kind of have them in this perpetual carousel anyway, where I'm always rereading one of them. So I have selected Emma, and although I am trying to put together a collection of the Penguin cloth-bound classics of all of the Jane Austen, I don't have Emma yet, so I'm reading it out of this big collected Emma Jane Austen book that I've had for a really long time, and I already did start it. So I will share my thoughts during my reread of Emma. And I also was selected this month in I always forget the official name of this, but it's a classic literature group that I participate in on Facebook, and every month 4 people get picked to offer one of the reading discussions of the month, and my name got drawn, so that was the one that I proposed because I knew I wanted to do one of the main Jane Austen books in July. So I'm reading Emma right now so that I can put in some comments in that group. And as always, it's very interesting to reread and see what she offers to me this time in my reading of the book. And I will let you know as I go along. I'm also going to read something I have not ever read, which is Lady Susan, which is one of her youthful writings. And I do have it in this cloth-bound edition called Love and Friendship and Other Youthful Writings. So I've not read anything out of this book, and so I am also going to read Lady Susan as part of Jane Austen July, and I'm excited because I have heard it's very delightful, and I have never read it, so that is a definite. Then I have a couple more that I feel really strongly that I will read this month because I'm super excited about them. And the first one is, yay, I finally got it, Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Malinda Lowe. And the more I heard about this book on multiple other people's Pride Read reviews, the more I thought, that sounds like a book I'm just really going to love. So I did order, this was a secondhand copy, but it looks very pristine to me. I'm super excited about it. It's a young adult novel, but kind of at that older end of young adult, because it's about a 17-year-old named Lily Hu, and it's a historical fiction novel about a Chinese-American girl in 1954 during the time of the Red Scare who lives in San Francisco's Chinatown, and she is discovering that her identity as a lesbian, and she falls in love and finds a bar called the Telegraph Club. Now, I guess back then you can go to a bar when you're 17. I'm going to find out how that all works. But I love the cover. And this one, I noticed that the more recent editions of it have the whole string of awards that it has won on the front, but this must be from when it first came out, and none of those have been applied. So I have the whole picture there. I'm super excited to read this book because I can tell it is like right up my alley of books that I would like. And then the next one I picked up last weekend on my trip, and this is Maggie Shipstead's new book, which is a collection of short stories called You Have a Friend in 10A. And I think I heard a review of it on NPR, and I was just excited when I saw it at the bookstore because I love Great Circle so much, and I do like short stories. So I'm very interested to see how her stories are. And this, just the description, I like when you read the flyleaf of a short story collection and you just get that sense right away that you're going to get so many different experiences in one book. So it says, a love triangle plays out over decades on a Montana dude ranch. A hurdler and a gymnast spend a single night together in the Olympic Village. Mistakes and mysteries weave an intangible web around an old man's deathbed in Paris, connecting disparate destinies. On the slopes of an unfinished ski resort, a young woman searches for her vanished lover. A couple's Romanian honeymoon goes ominously awry, and in the mesmerizing title story, a former child actress breaks with her life in a Hollywood cult. Okay, all of those sound like totally a book I would pick up and read. So the fact that I get them all in these short stories, I'm super excited to read. And the photo on the front is pretty weird. It's like, most of it looks like things you would see in an airplane safety video, except I'm not sure what the one about putting something in the cup has to do with it, unless it's like when they used to give out the little liquors on the airplane. That reminds me of this just totally triggered a totally digression here, but I remember going on a flight when I was about 10, and I was on the plane with my mom and my brother, who would have been about 3 at the time, and it was when they used to serve an entire meal. And I remember that it was so exotic because it was like those, what are they called? Those little tiny chickens where the whole chicken is like that big, but like the whole thing, the cooked chicken was on the tray. And this was like millions of years before I went vegetarian. So it was like this chicken, and then it had like this little tiny bottle of wine. And my mom was like, really? It's for real? Because they gave us all that. Like my brother, my 3-year-old brother, had a bottle of wine on his tray. And I was like, I insisted that we bring the little bottles of wine home because I wanted the little bottles. And my mom was just like, yeah, I'm gonna let my kids go around with wine. So anyway, just remember that when I saw that picture. So throwback to the 70s. All right, so moving right along, I do have a few more books that are kind of the maybes that I feel like I'm going to read, but I might have a change of mood, halfway along and go a different route. What I did dedicate myself to this month is to read books that I already have, things I have in my house, and not go sideways at the library. Because we might be preparing for a move, and so once I return these books that I already have, I'm going to try to not check anything out this month and kind of wait and see what's going on with the timing of our possible move, and then because that would be a change of libraries. That is a whole other topic about the moving scenario. So my things that I feel like I may read. This is another mystery I want to throw in for when I need something on maybe the lighter side that I also talked about in a haul, but it is Marion Lane and the Midnight Murder, which is a book that was recommended to me by a friend that takes place in London in the late 50s, and it is about a young investigator, and I think it apparently has some throwbacks to World War II and code breaking kind of stuff. So I don't know exactly what it's about, but it just has a fun spirit to it. And there is a book too, so if I really like it, I can get the second book. Also, I've been wanting to read Light Perpetual by Frances Spufford, which sounds very different in subject and tone than a previous book I read of his called Golden Hill, which was about very early New York City. And this one takes place in World War II when there was a bombing of a Woolworth department store that killed a great number of people. And it is sort of a speculation on the possible lives of 5 children who died in that event. It just sounds really interesting. It's historical fiction, but then like an element of speculative fiction in a way. So I've been thinking about this book for a while, and I feel like the mood is kind of on me now. And then the other one, I kind of have a spot in my roundup for like a science fiction type book, and I think that the one I'm going to go for is Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. And I have never read anything by Octavia Butler, and I feel like that is something missing in my reading life because she is mentioned many times in discussions of American science fiction writers. And of course, there is a shortage of representation of black authors in that genre, and women for that matter. And so I love dystopian and apocalyptic stories. So that is what this is about. It says, when global and climate change and economic crises lead to social chaos in the early 2020s. Wait, when did she write this? Because, California becomes full of dangers, from pervasive water shortage to masses of vagabonds who will do anything to live to see another day. 15-year-old Lauren Alamina lives inside a gated community with her preacher father, family, and neighbors, sheltered from the surrounding anarchy. In a society where any vulnerability is a risk, she suffers from hyper-empathy, a debilitating sensitivity to others' emotions. So that sounds fantastic. And there is a sequel called Parable of the Talents. So I'm trying to see what year this was actually written, first published. 1993. So sounds a little prescient to me. Prescient. I need to look that up. Anyway, Octavia Butler, and I don't think this is like what I'd call like a major sale price, but I did buy this at Book People in the sales section, and I saw the exact same copy in the regular section at full price, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this copy, so I was like, yeah. And that is kind of my plan. I read generally about 8 books a month because I really do just read them one at a time, all print. I can't juggle the multiples. And so we'll see if I stick to those exact ones or if I gravitate to some other things instead, because I do have a lot of other ones kind of floating around here in this library that I might, become interested in to substitute. But that's kind of what I have in mind. Let me know if that any of these are books that you've read recently or recommend, or if there's something else that you think I should consider. And I've been enjoying seeing other lists that are starting to pop up from other people on BookTube. So I hope we have a great reading month in store. And please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed this video. And happy Jane Austen July. Bye-bye.